The NDP wants Canada's Elections Commissioner to look into online bots, backing Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. They say if Conservatives are paying for social media posts, they should be considered third-party advertising. If not, they could be examples of foreign interference.
There's basically duplicate messages flooding social media, the exact same message from people that seem to be having addresses around the world. That is sketchy behavior, and we need to know what it's about.
This after Press Progress noted hundreds of identical social media posts saying they were, quote, buzzing from the energy of a Poilievre rally in Northern Ontario last week. Some of the posters are located in countries like France, England, and Russia. The Conservative Party sent CBC a statement that reads in part, the CPC does not pay for bots and has no idea who is behind these accounts. We are seeking the support of actual Canadians as witnessed by large in-person turnouts at our events. We remain very concerned about any foreign interference and call upon the government to release anything that it might know. So, do possible bot posts supporting Canadian politicians need more scrutiny? It's time to bring in the power panel. Cameron Ahmed is a former head of communications to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Lisa Raitt is a former Conservative cabinet minister, and Émilie Nicolas is a columnist for Le Devoir. Welcome to the show, everybody. The Conservatives also pointed out some bot accounts seem to support Justin Trudeau, though the Liberal Party says it does not use or interact with online bots. But Cameron, what's your take on this bigger question as raised by the NDP of whether the Elections Commissioner should investigate this?
Well, I think they're probably right. I mean, and Mr. Singh is right when he says it's sketchy. It's obviously strange, and it's obviously also concerning for our democratic process when you have this type of manipulation occurring on social media to such a large scale. I think if the Conservative Party wants to show that it takes it seriously, then they would say that they do and actually try and do something about it, try and get accountability from the social media websites or participate in a process to try and figure out and get down to the bottom of it. And also try and work with the government on the online harms bill, which actually I believe had a section devoted to trying to get accountability over bot farming and the presence of these types of accounts online. It's not a good thing for democracy when you have this level of manipulation. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know how to shut them down. And as we get closer and closer to an election, we need to have stronger processes and accountability for political parties if they have any role in farming these kinds of accounts.
There is an official term for this. It's called astroturfing. It refers to the use of these robotic accounts to fake what appears to be grassroots support for a politician or a political party. It's not limited to any one movement, and some experts say it's been going on for years. So Lisa, what's your take on whether the Conservatives should agree and call on the Elections Commissioner to investigate this activity?
Why is it up to the Conservatives? Like, guys, let's get serious here. Do we honestly think that the Conservative Party is buying these bots? No, they're not. They said they're not. They're not doing it. What we do have is a serious concern about foreign intervention in any elections.
Well, should they call for somebody to investigate it from that angle then?
Why not? I mean, that's okay. But look, this is grandstanding by Charlie Angus. No question in my mind. He's writing a letter to the Elections Commissioner. He's trying to get some ink around his outrage around it. This is a serious issue. If the parties want to deal with foreign interference, they should deal with it head on, and they should deal with it together instead of the grandstanding trying to score political points off of one another. And a pox on all the parties, quite frankly, on this one, because it's a serious matter, and Canadians do actually care about foreign interference. They care about it a lot. But this notion of pointing fingers and saying that it's the Conservative Party that are hiring bots from Russia and from France, that is not helping overall the big issue that we have facing us together as a democracy. And then finger pointing and saying, well, the Conservatives aren't rushing quickly enough into saying that this is a wrong thing. That, again, is a red herring, my friend. The issue here is there is foreign interference. Somebody, anybody, all of them should investigate it, quite frankly. But to have it turn into a political issue, this is why we get bad raps.
Émilie, what do you think about that? How should we go about addressing this then?
Well, first of all, there needs to be an answer and a condemnation and a dissociation from any party that receives advantage from bot farming or from artificial intelligence or from any form of foreign interference. So that's why I think there was a statement called from the Conservative Party. Now that this is being done, I think it's helpful to remember that just last spring, Joshua Benjo and over 100 leading experts in AI ethics called for a pause in the development of AI after the release of ChatGPT, because essentially, and I'm loosely quoting what they say, now that artificial intelligence has controlled language and is getting better at controlling language, language is the key to human civilization. So if robots understand language, they can make us lose control of our own society. And they warned that if we do not pause the development of AI in that context, until we have correct legislation to be able to deal with this threat, it's going to have an impact on elections globally and our democracies. Because because of exactly what the kind of things that we're seeing today. We're seeing that it's very easy for people to program robots that fake language that makes us lose sight of what is real and what isn't in terms of social mobilization, political engagement. And that has huge impact on how we poll and how we see who has momentum or not in an election. And there's manipulation that makes essentially our electoral laws obsolete until we figured out this threat. And this is much bigger than any political party. And actually, it is much bigger than just Canada. So Canada has to put its duck in a row. And I know that there's been work in the parliament in terms of trying to figure out a way to legislate around AI. But that's actually an urgent global issue that threatens democracy worldwide.
Well, certainly, we're seeing some of the impacts of AI and online misinformation right now all over the world, whether it's AI-generated videos being shared in the US or misinformation fueling riots in the UK. So Lisa, to that point, putting the partisan wrangling aside, how much greater is that risk to our next election? Just how grave is that threat?
I think it's very real, and we have to take it very seriously. I don't think that the Commissioner of Elections is the right path to go down in dealing with it. I'm not sure of exactly how many powers the Commissioner is going to have when it comes to getting to the bottom of this. I agree with Cameron on one thing, that there should be a collective agreement that the parties will work together on this. I don't know how they come about and do it because of the heightened politicism of this, but certainly refraining from turning it into a political issue is one way to go forward. But I do believe that all of us have to make sure that the next general election, whenever that is going to be, is one that at least we have acknowledged that this could happen and put into place some fences to ensure that if we do recognize it happening, we are going to be able to deal with it and to protect our democracy at the end of the day. I think it's a real serious issue.
So, Cameron, what would a serious response look like then, in your mind? If it isn't the Elections Commissioner investigating this, does this come under the umbrella of the Election Monitoring Task Force? Is there some other agency, some other body that could be invoked to look into this? What do you think?
Well, I agree entirely with Lisa that this is a serious threat that we face as a country and as a democracy. And Emilie is right that it is a global phenomenon. It's also not new. This is not something that is just happening for the first time and we're just seeing politicians jump on one example. Grandstanding in the moment is probably not the most productive approach, but I think ultimately there has to be some accountability on the social media companies too, and that's something that the government has tried to address. Other countries have managed to at least start addressing, and in reality, I don't think we've seen the Conservative Party show any willingness to put any legislative guardrails or any regulations around social media companies who have a responsibility to label certain content online as misinformation, as disinformation, as manipulative or manipulated. So I think that's a big part of the answer here. And agreed, all parties have to work together because this goes well beyond one party, one election cycle. It is pretty fundamental to the future of our democracy and the belief and trust that people have in our institutions and in the information that they consume online. I mean, if you can't trust anything anymore to be true, then it's extremely grave and extremely serious for citizens to get involved and to to participate actively in our democracy. So a big part of this solution, I think, has to rest on social media companies. We can't trust them to do it on their own. We have to, governments have to impose rules on them.
It also is perhaps a little bit concerning that there's no definitive way to verify who is or isn't behind this. And so, Emily, I mean, let me turn to you for the big question I asked off the top. If this doesn't get under control, could these bot posts actually sway the way Canadians vote?
Yes. It has played, Russia, there's already been a lot of investigation into how they played a role in the 2016 election between Hillary and Trump. And certainly social media mobilization played a role there. So this is not a sci-fi scenario. This is things that we've seen before. And that's also something that Cameron already insisted on. The only thing that I would add, and this is something that's being pointed out by experts, is that through the latest development of AI, it's basically a lot cheaper and a lot easier for people to engage in this sort of nefarious activity. And so this is something that is bound to become even more an issue now with the language generative technology that we have now. And so this needs to be solved. And basically, there's been a lot of experts who've called on urgent, but really urgent action from the government of Canada around legislation, not just on election, and that there's basically two things. There's election and foreign interference, but there's also the issue of the tech itself and the development of those technologies. And so there needs to be more accountability in terms of foreign interference. There needs to be more accountability on platform, but we also need to really have more of a framework around people that develop technologies that can be used in a very nefarious way when they're put in the wrong hands as well.
I've got about 30 seconds left each. Lisa, I'll go to you first. One party is in government, the Liberal Party. What should the government do?
Take it seriously. Plan for the future, protect the next election. But isn't it funny we're talking about what's essentially a positive tweet? I tend to get more worried about the bot farms that come after and spread misinformation. This wasn't technically misinformation. It was somebody saying they liked that they went to a rally of Pierre Poilievre's. So it's a weird one to single out as being foreign interference. There's more to come.
And Cameron, what would you say in response to that? As I pointed out, the Liberals are in power. They have the ability to address this in a serious manner if they choose to. What would you like to see them do?
There's always more they can do, but they already have started to address this. And the online harms bill is one of the ways that they're trying to put accountability on social media companies. And I've yet to see any good faith or any legitimate attempt by the Conservative Party to show any willingness to work with. All they do is attack the government when they talk about regulating the social media companies and spread disinformation about what they're trying to do. In this case, there is an attempt to move forward. There's a bill that's been tabled, and they should probably engage in good faith on that bill, see if there's anything in there they can get behind or work with the government on.
Lisa, I give you 10 seconds. I see you shaking your head if you'd like just a quick rebuttal.
It always has to come down to a partisan shot at the end at the Conservatives. That's all. I'm just trying to say this is a big issue. And this is a bigger issue than taking partisan shots at one another. And Cameron, every time you talked, you took a shot at the Conservatives. I never once took a shot at the Liberal government. I recognize this is a big issue.
Well,
we're out of time, unfortunately. I want to thank you. I want to thank our power panel, Cameron Ahmed, Lisa Raitt, and Emily Nicolas.